Welcome to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend-Gard. I'm a law professor, and I just want to quilt. All right, so today we're talking with Cheryl Sleboda. If you haven't heard her first podcast, she was part of our initial release at the beginning of last month, so it seemed appropriate to have her again for our anniversary. This is a really cool interview about her vision of what the quilting industry looks like, and I hope you enjoy it. This is part two. We're talking with Cheryl Sleboda. And this is a different day, so I had a lot of things I wanted to ask her, and she was willing to come back for a second session. So I really do appreciate it. I'm super psyched to chat with you. So the first thing I want to say.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry. The first thing I want to say is that your 31-day blog. I'm a blog failure, so I feel like I have not. I've been trying, and then I didn't. But I think I'm going to go back. So the big question is for me. Is it cheating if you do the posts you wanted to do, but just backdate them? Is that a reasonable thing to do? Or is that just not in the spirit of the whole blogging thing? I've been doing tons of work for this project, but the blogging, I think one of the questions I have with you with blogging is, I always feel like I'm doing all this stuff behind the scenes, but I'm not ready to sort of talk about it. Do you find yourself having that problem where you're not ready to do it, but sort of, I'd love you to understand your strategy of how to blog each day.
Well, I think a lot of us we end up thinking that it's going to be so easy to blog every single day, and then when you actually have to sit down and write something every single day, it's a lot harder than it sounds. And then we also feel this strange amount of guilt for not doing it either. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. It's like, I said I would blog every day and I promised people, and now they're out there waiting for me and I'm not saying anything. But we're also very used to now, and I think that the reason blogs sort of fall away in the things that we do is because we're so wrapped up in social media. And what I do is I just use the same content that I would put on social media. So if I'm going to share a picture of what I'm sewing today or whatever, I'm going to put that on my blog and share it there as well. And so it doesn't have to be hard. The other thing is and it's as you say, as an artist or as someone who's working on many projects that can't be revealed yet, it's hard to put content out there if you have to keep everything a secret. And so I think we run into that. Well, the only thing I'm sewing is this thing that I can't show anybody yet. And therefore, it looks like you have nothing to say. And that's where it is good to start talking about yourself or, things going on with you, because you then become more real to the reader. Versus this robot that just pushes out more, more quilts, more designs, more this, more that. You're actually a person I had to take the day off because, I didn't feel so well or whatever. Just makes you feel more like a real person. So don't feel bad.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We're doing all these experiments. We keep asking people to send us samples of their patterns so that I can experience it and all that, so that we can. And I don't think I would have experienced the stress of blogging every day if I hadn't tried to do the challenge. So it's been really interesting to sort of you learn as you experience all of this stuff. So that's good, I guess. But one of the other things I started to think about is I'm doing all these ridiculous projects, and maybe I should be doing the blogging as I'm doing the project and just storing it for later, so that there's got to be a better rhythm to all of this. So I feel like by the time I'm ready to share something, I'm not going to care But then when I am doing it, I don't know. I got to figure it all out. And I probably can share along the way, too. I think it's just because the podcast isn't up yet. So it feels weird to be talking about interviews that people can't.
What I do is I take all the photos, like all my in-process photos, for all of that content that's going to come later. Mm-hmm. Because once I reveal the project, then I want people to know how I made it and all the struggles that I had during that process. So I think that that's where those things come in. Those, you can still take all the photos and make your notes like you were, so that you can blog about it later. Because again, these secret projects, I think, any quilter who's ever tried to enter a contest or, wanted to submit something to the magazine, you can't put that out in the world yet. You have to sort of keep it a secret. And that's where things, looks like you're not doing anything.
It's true. It's really true. It's the exact opposite. You're busier than ever. Right, exactly. That's exactly what happened, which is really an interesting experience because I was like, all I'm doing is this project. It's completely taken over my life, and I have nothing to blog about. So, anyway, I'm working it out. It's been an interesting personal moment, thinking through who am I exactly, which is very silly. All right, so on to more. So that's the blog thing. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going and try to get it. Keep going on it. So hold on just a sec.
Yeah.
Okay. So the industry. When you look at the industry, sort of, do you have like? I'm starting to look at things and seeing different buckets of experiences and people and what it looks like. And I'm curious if you could help me a little bit map out what you see, how you would sort of like kind of mind map the industry. What does it look like? What does the quilting industry look like at this stage, do you think? Is that hard? Is that too hard a question?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I think the quilt industry is going through a period of change. And I don't know that everybody's even like aware that it's changing, or they're just now being aware that it's been changing for a few years and the reality of the new industry is catching up with us. I think that the internet has changed a lot of the game for the industry, and it didn't really catch up until now. And I say that because, the demographic for quilters, as you know, from the annual survey that was released, the average age dropped a whole year, from 64 to 63. And you're talking about, so that's the average, which means there's quilters who are much older, and then there's quilters who also are younger. And you're talking about a demographic that doesn't really like truly use the internet other than a research tool. And I think that when you look at the internet that we're using now, like I use the internet to physically run my business. And now, people have moved from catalogs to online ordering. They've moved from, getting their information from a visit from a sales rep to an email announcement from the company and place your order on our website today. And I think that when you look at the industry, there's three different arms, in my opinion. So if I had to mind map it, right, there's three things. There's the manufacturers who make the fabric and the tools and the things that we need to use to make our quilts. Then you have the stores, which are largely independent, and there's very few chains in the or big box that we would think of in every other industry, like bookstore. There's no chain quilt store. There's chain fabric stores, but there's no chain quilt store. And so for the most part, we're buying our products from a mom and pop independent retailer. And then you have the third arm, which is the teachers, the designers, the people who are professionals in the industry, but are not a manufacturer and they're not a store. And so that's the three arms of the industry that I see. I'm sure there's more. Manufacturers, of course, can get broken out into machines and fabric and other tools and thread. And, so there's a bunch of different types of manufacturing. And then, even the stores, there are only machine stores. There are only fabric stores. There's the hybrid of the two. There's stores that focus on teaching, and there's stores that have no teaching. And, the same thing for the individual professional arm. And that arm has, pattern designers and fabric designers and people like me who teach and also have patterns and everything else. So it's sort of an omni, channel type thing. So that's where I see the industry. And I see the industry as trying to grow in two of the channels. I think the pattern designers and independents have always been very internet savvy. And I see that the manufacturers have definitely become more internet savvy. And the stores are the ones who are catching up. And that's not a negative against them. They actually have more on their plate than any of the rest. They are trying to keep the lights on and keep the customers happy and have the right product mix and anticipate everybody's needs in the future. And they're ordering their product months in advance before they even know if it will sell. And I'm very familiar with that type of retailing because of my years in the comic book industry, which is a very similar type of customer. So it's the manufacturers who I think have made the most change to the industry that we're all still catching up with. And I think, there's been a lot of talk about how relevant is Quilt Market anymore, which is the big industry trade show event. Because when you go to Quilt Market now, most of the fabric lines are already out. And I think that the store owner has less reason to go to Quilt Market than they did in the past. And so I think that's why we see the numbers of attendance declining at Quilt Market. And that's not because the market is shrinking that much. It's because they're getting their information from someplace else. They don't have to get it at Quilt Market. That's my opinion.
That's really interesting.
Well, I'm not the only one who holds this opinion, but yeah. I might be the only one willing to put a voice to it. Yeah. Now, I will say that I always go to Quilt Market, and I love Quilt Market. I find that I make it worth it for me to go, both as an independent and as someone who has, product lines and things like that. But there are people who are, what we need is to entice the independent designers back and the store owners back. And I think Quilt Market can do that with offering lots of education.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, I think
you have to make it worth the store owner's while.
Yeah. A couple of questions come out of that. I think that's a really great place to start with sort of understanding the industry. That makes a lot of sense. What I was kind of amazed at, well, first I'm amazed that there is no national quilting chain. Do you have any idea why that might be? It seems like there would have been, Crafty seems like it's trying to come in to do that online, to be sort of this massive thing. But why do you think this industry hasn't developed a national big box kind of thing, store?
I think it's the same